All right, you're good. Since you brought something.
Community.
All right. Well,
It's not a
water in the porch. Welcome everybody to the August 7th meeting of the Village of Flower Hill Board of Trustees. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Claire on Link Dorf.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, I will make a motion to open the public hearing portion of our meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Trustee Smith? Okay, the first public hearing is continued hearing on proposed local law J, placing a stop sign on Chanticleer at Drake.
Getting my new exciting,
Getting your audio visual aid.
getting my visual.
Is it the second or third?
This is the one we're
This
voting
is the
on.
second hearing.
Who drew
But
this?
we actually introduced it, we also talked about it. Yes.
I want to share with you our lovely solution that our
Okay, great.
building superintendent drew, created.
Oh, are you putting up the lines?
You can have it. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. I'm sorry.
Second.
So the request came in to put in a stop sign at the intersection of Chanticleer and Drake. And one of the key reasons was to prevent drivers heading, I'll say that's north on Chanticleer. They've been cutting to go into Drake to make the left. They've been cutting the corner, which is kind of dangerous. And I've been there multiple times and I watch exactly
See
what.
it happen.
Yeah, I'm standing right there and they're doing it. Here, you can pass that around for me. From Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
So in order if just doing the stop sign on, which is a great idea, I don't think it'll solve 100% of the problem. So instead of possibly doing like a traffic circle, which is going to be ripping up the road and it's a traffic triangle. I think as a first solution, we go and we do this yield turn lane where we'll paint a traffic triangle and that should stop the problem. And if it works, we could look at doing a traffic circle, whatever you want to call it, an island, a real grass island in the near future, like next year.
If it works, you would do the triangle.
If it works.
You need to do that.
So my only, I'm just gonna say.
Sure.
I,
Oh, wait a minute. For the record, I need your name and
oh,
address.
sure,
Right, Ronnie?
Aaron Scott, 95 Drake Lane, Cohasset.
Yep.
Third time. I appreciate this.
Yep.
I have spoken with a bunch of people. No one else has joined me here tonight. I did mention that you guys were thinking of putting in paint.
Yeah.
People were not happy about it. I'm just letting you know they're very unhappy. They do not want, I'm letting you know, they do not want paint. Personally, I don't love the idea of paint. It's a beautiful, nice, looking neighborhood, and if you put paint down, it's gonna look not so lovely.
Okay, so we won't do that. We'll just do the stop sign, and then the problem you're describing will continue. And then you're not gonna be, I'm just letting you,
I don't,
Just
listen,
putting
no
the
one
stuff-
else is here except for me. I appreciate it. What I don't wanna happen is when I went around asking people to sign a petition, I was asking people for a stop sign.
right.
So a lot of people have thanked me and asked me what was going on, and I had just mentioned, the stop sign. The yield sign would be good too. I had mentioned maybe, the idea of putting in the triangle so people knew which way to go. People like that. When I said you were thinking of putting in paint on the ground, they were like, we're not gonna like that.
But would they understand that this is just provisional, that this is temporary?
They don't, I'm not gonna assume that we've spoken to the same people, but I feel like that comment has been reflected. But if we started with the stop sign, could that be like stage one,
No,
right?
we'll just do the stop sign, then that's fine.
if
I
we
just
feel
don't
like
think
the problem is continued or whatever, then we could think about something else.
we can do it. I'll
I mean,
definitely.
are you
Sure.
open?
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe, listen, I would love the stop sign. I say, thank you so much. I don't know, maybe even, would you even think of like putting a stop sign over here?
Then we have the whole other set of public hearings.
Okay,
This is,
All right.
so the way local law works, it's,
Okay.
we're having the local law for that specific
for that
stop sign.
specific spot, okay.
Now we've got to start the process
Listen,
over
I'll
for
take
another
a stop
stop sign.
sign, I'd love to see if it.
We're just
works.
trying to make it as safe as possible.
I agree,
Yeah.
and what I don't wanna see happen is like everyone has been on top of me saying, we didn't ask for this and we didn't sign that, and
Right.
like, the other person I spoke to the other day, she has little kids and she hates the corner. But I said, oh, I think they're gonna put in some painted lines, and she said, well, that's not gonna look very good, and what about the resale value of mine? I don't wanna be blamed for that.
You know what the reality is? I live on Country Club at a stop sign, and I would say, maybe 2 out of 10 cars stop on a good day.
Well, that's
So
sad.
on a good day.
Yeah.
So, while this will be a novelty at first,
Mhm.
don't be surprised if some of those same people that are worried about the resale,
I know,
the whole reason you're doing this is for
I
children's safety.
know, and like,
so-
I appreciate this, I just don't know what people,
But be warned, the stop sign, like Claire said, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Don't be expecting miracles, and that's why I think why some thought went into what else we could do to protect the
Right.
children, which was the whole idea of you coming here to begin with.
Right, no,
Right.
the
So-
children, the drivers, I mean, yesterday, I went up this way. I went to put my left blinker on,
Mm-hmm.
someone came down this way with her right blinker, and as I turned left, she actually went down on the right side of me. She didn't even go on the right side of the road. I don't know why people are such terrible drivers.
Well, it's because
You really need to stop sign.
It's just a very wide, awkward opening, and like I said, I appreciate the idea of having lines. I do think the best thing would be the stop sign along with the triangle. I think the triangle,
There is a crossover here.
I think a triangle shows people which way to go, whereas this, people I think are still gonna drive over it, but.
But, you might also look at elder
This is the
fields,
real
because we had the same issue, and Rich, and his crew
We'll never get.
took a look at that. There was an existing triangle. It was still a nightmare. They went in and figured out and Rich could speak to what they did, but they painted there. That's pretty high-end real estate on Elder Fields and Birch or Boulder? Boulder. So take a look at it. There's an existing island, but they did do the two-way and painted it, so.
So let me ask you, so if you put the stop sign in and we
Yep.
still see the issues, are we allowed to come back and ask for more, or is it like done deal?
But you might point your neighbors to the exact thing right, Rich? Are we talking about the same thing?
Yeah.
You painted?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's sort of the same thing, but it's, we do have that existing triangle right there.
What, people run over it? I don't understand.
No, people were just going through one way, it was just.
so they still needed it, that's his point. They still had to paint despite having a triangle.
Oh,
So my point to you is if
Yeah.
anybody asks you, point them to that,
okay,
was just done this year,
sure.
so.
A bunch of yellow lines basically.
Where's the Elder Fields in Boulder?
It's Elder Fields and.
Boulder.
Claire, have you heard anything from anybody, or?
I know they don't want the street painted, I'll be blunt, they don't want the street painted.
Yeah, they don't want to.
Yeah, I'm just.
All right, so we're not,
Okay,
we're
but
gonna,
stop sign, and will you put the stop line along with the stop sign?
That's what it looks like.
of course,
Okay. All
we,
right,
we,
great.
we never
So-
do stop signs without a stop line.
Okay, oh, I didn't know that, okay.
Just because people don't see the signs, they might see the line. You do both, and at least you get 50%, 50%.
Okay, so let's hope that this does something, and if it doesn't, then I guess we reserve the right to come back and ask more.
Yeah, no, so we'll just, if that's okay with the board, we're gonna vote to approve the stop sign. We're not gonna do any additional lines and safety
As
markings
of today.
as of today, and
But
we'll
we
take it.
reserve the right.
No, we definitely want to make the corner as safe as possible. So we'll do the stop sign where it makes sense to be installed, because that is such a bizarre corner curve.
It's just, yeah.
We'll have Rich put it in the right, proper place, and then we'll take it from there in future months if we want to do anything else.
Okay.
Alrighty,
Thank
let's,
you for your time, everybody.
no, thank you
I
for
really
bringing this
appreciate
up to us.
What's the timing for like installation, for lack of a better word, like replacing the stop sign? Just out of curiosity.
Sometime next week.
Oh, that's fine, yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
That's fast. Yes.
Is that
Just
how-
curious.
These guys are amazing.
They are amazing.
You guys have to approve that?
Well,
Well,
technically,
okay, this is technically the law, it doesn't become law until it's accepted by the Secretary of State in Albany. And then I get notified back, which probably takes about a month.
but
However, so if, well, you can put in the stop sign next week, but if somebody runs and gets a ticket, we have to dismiss it.
Oh, I see, but they don't know that, so that's good.
well, it's now part of the public record.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yes, we can, as soon as Rich has the opportunity, it will be installed.
All right, well, thank you so much. I
No, thank you.
appreciate it.
Well, you want to take the vote?
Okay, so, I'm going to ask for a resolution to, enact local law J as, local law J as local law 10 of the year 2023, amending village code on, traffic to include stop sign on Drake Lane, northbound at Chanticleer Drive, northbound at Drake Lane.
As suggested in terms of that, there be a secret resolution as well.
Thank you.
That this is a type 2 action that will significantly impact on the environment.
Yes.
Would somebody like to make that resolution?
I'll make my.
Okay, I have trustee Dorfman, and do we have a second? And second by trustee Frankel, and I will call the roll. Trustee Smith?
Aye.
Trustee Lewandowski?
Aye.
Trustee Dorfman? Deputy Mayor?
Aye.
Trustee Collins?
Aye.
Trustee Frankel? And Mr. Mayor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
Next
much.
Thank you.
Let us know how it goes and we'll massage as we need to
Okay,
massage.
all right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Next public hearing is continued landmark designation hearing for Elderfield Preserve.
And I see Mr. Walsh is here on behalf of the county. Just by way of update, this had been closed for submission of the remaining document, which was in lieu of a survey. It was I think an aerial view with an attached composite map, which has been reviewed both by me and by Mr. Albinski, but I think Mr. Walsh just wanted to make one comment to the board based on the county's air works. So I'm gonna
Yes.
explain it.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board again for entertaining us on this application. So as village attorneys mentioned, we've been working through the document of coverage
Ronnie,
restrictions.
Ronnie, do we need name and address for the record?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Kevin Walsh, Office of Real Estate,
Right.
Nassau County, 1 West Street, New York. So we're working collaboratively on coverage restrictions to preserve the historic nature of this property, which, by the way, in the deed is historic preserve, and other signage is up there. I've learned a little more about the property since I presented the map. I have a little more details on the size of the buildings. It's actually a main building area, about 6,000 feet. There's a small caretaker's cottage barn. I've seen many of these, detached garage and 3 sheds. So all these are historic structures. And the idea is we're going to just confirm our covenants and restrictions. We'll probably have to go through a county process, assuming the village would be on board and approve the conditions of the covenants. Eventually, the goal is to get them recorded in the county clerk's office.
Mhm.
So like a deed, there's knowledge of the world, this property has certain restrictions on it, but to go through that process, most likely you'll have to go to the county legislature. And the deed also mentions an entity called the Society for Preservation of Antiquities, who was given some care of this property, to be sure any covenants and so forth go through their review. So we'll have to review the deed together to see. I don't know if that entity exists anymore, as it did at that time, and we'll work through that issue.
I don't have a problem with that. Just to clarify, Mr. Mayor and board members, I reviewed the draft declarations of covenants and restrictions. I felt that they were sufficient, they would protect the village. My concern obviously is that Mr. Walsh's bureau chief needs to take a pass at them. I would rather we have one set of documents than to approve what's here now and then to hear back from the county that they're not going to be able to report what was approved. I've reviewed this several times, and I think, in my legal opinion, it would protect the village, but I want to make sure we're all working apples to apples from here until
Right.
the process is over.
We appreciate that. My concern is though, what's the excuse that's gonna happen next month from the county, then the next month from the county? Every month, you guys have been coming up with something different.
Something
And-
different. Well,
And this month, it's the bureau chief. What's it gonna be next month? County executive? You guys gotta get your ducks in a row, or we'll maybe hold the vote on the landmarking. because I thought we were all in agreement to make things happen, and now
Right.
every month there's another excuse in the county, and
Well, but I'd like to
It's
just
not-
come
it's not
back
cool.
next month with this agreement on the language and hopefully the process from the county side. Which typically the county process for something like this, the village would approve the language and then we would put it in front of the county process, the county legislature.
Which is not inconsistent with the manner in which I thought the board was considering proceeding, which would be anything that's approved here, any action the board takes. For example, suppose the board indicates we're going to work with and accept the declaration of covenants and restrictions in lieu of landmarking. Assuming the board chooses to do that, that would all be subject to this document being approved by any legislative action that has to take place through the county and through any other entity that has anything to say with that. If they don't do that, this will return before the board for the landmarking process. But my immediate concern right now is I had understood, and I there was counsel here who has since left the county. If the bureau chief has to approve the language that's before this board, I do want to make sure that we're all working with the same language, rather than have the county next week say, well, you approved last week, we need to ask for a change. I think that makes it unwieldy, and I would just suggest, although it's taken a while, to have that passed on.
Okay. And also remember, we have a cost. Every time we have a public hearing, I'm paying a transcriber. I don't need to have another public hearing that's going to go on for 12 more months.
Understood.
So I kind of like to get this settled.
Resolved.
And we had some pretty good,
And the good, I think
Traction
the goal
with
is the
discussion.
same, to keep it. as
I agree.
far as-
It just seems that we're taking a step forward and then we're taking another step backwards. So I'd like to move forward on this and get this done. I thought this month we were going to be done. And that was the conversation Jeff and I had a day or two ago. And now it sounds like we're not there.
But I think, and I understand, I indicated to Mr. Walsh that the frustration of the board, but if the board does agree to adjourn, I think by next month, the bureau chief will pass on it, and I just asked within the next, say, 2 weeks from now, we get the documents back before the board.
Yes. For the meeting in
Just
September.
as well.
Okay, understood.
I gotta just say that my only fear is that we have been trying to require minimum growth from the county for about 12 to 15 years, and that's how long it took.
Was that the,
A middle neck road is county road,
yes.
and it took us 15 years to acquire it. So I hope this isn't the same.
No, this is just, but we want to make sure that the language is consistent with the deed and our process, what's necessary. Just to make sure that somebody didn't like the process, secret, we have to go through that. I mean, you're working with secret on this, but I think, our concepts are in agreement, so.
All right. So we really have nothing to do with this.
Is there any questions from the map we presented last month?
No, I think
I've had
that
a
was
chance to
sufficient.
look at it, as Mr. Opinsky, I think it's sufficient for the purposes that the village was asking for.
So we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
September 12th,
I'll second it.
Can you do this?
that's a Tuesday.
Yes.
That's fine.
All in favor?
No.
No objections? Excellent. All right, we'll see you in another
Thank
4
you.
weeks.
Thank you very
But I don't want to
much.
see you in another 4 weeks after that. We're
I
done.
agree.
You're a nice guy, but we're done.
Thank you.
We want to see you with different.
Thank you. On the next matter.
Okay, the third public hearing is a continued landmark designation here for 7 West Shore Road. Mayor, do you want to take
So-
that?
Yeah, so trustee Collins brought up the suggestion that if any trustee wants to visit the site, we do so. So we spoke with the Balins and they agreed we can't go as a group because of the sunshine laws, but we can individually go. The Balins had some ground rules of being notified, which we can forward to everybody. I just got the email.
Yeah,
Only
they
couple
just
hours
ask that before you come, you just email them, let them know that you're coming so they can move their cars, because you really don't want to park on West Shore Road.
Right. Unless somebody decides to go for a nice walk and walk down there to West Shore Road. So that being said, are we I guess we're continuing this to next month? So I will make a motion to continue the hearing
In
on.
addition to the site visit, I think my request is that we, at least me, unless everybody else is comfortable, I really want to understand what is in place now. What's the difference with the historic. Like, I know you put stuff in your letter, but I'm not comfortable that I still understand the exact difference with historic versus landmarking. And so I'd really like to do a deeper dive on that, and maybe that's just me and everybody else feels they're comfortable with it, but I'm not.
I think Jeff can provide us with some additional.
What I suggested, I would suggest to trustee council or the board is that we can review the law. That doesn't have to be a public hearing. That's more of an attorney-client discussion, and we could either speak individually or set up a time when we could go through a list of legal questions, not the deliberations, that would end up being done publicly, but to go through the legal issues and review them with the board is not a matter of public notice or public hearing. We can set up a time as soon as the board wishes to do that. With all the boards, some members of the board by telephone, whatever people want to do.
Okay. So we can get your answers. Great. Can get the questions to your answers. The answers to your questions. All right. So I will make the motion to adjourn this hearing to the September 12th board meeting. I have a second. I'll second.
Deputy Mayor James. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
Make a motion to close the public hearing portion of our meeting. Seconded by?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Public comment. Is there anything we need to hear from the public on any matter that's not on the agenda currently? That being no, let's go to the rest of our meeting. Ronnie, I'm handing off the ball.
Motion to approve the minutes of the July 10th meeting. Dorfman, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right, I think we got trustee Collins.
Yeah, that's keep it.
Okay. Okay, and treasurer's report and claims. Can I have a motion to approve the claims unless there are any questions?
Any questions on anything here? I know Frank had a question last month. No, nothing new?
No, no.
Okay. The only expense that's either on this or it's going to be on next one. No, it's on this one. Is we had a large expense to fix one of the trucks. One of our pickup trucks needed some like $3,000 worth of work. It was necessary work, so we had to do it.
And we had the low set.
Well, that's budgeted. We know
Yeah.
that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The truck work is that's something that's out of the ordinary. That's happens when some of your equipment is older. So I reviewed all the disbursements. There was nothing out of order on any of them. So I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
As usual.
The
Mr. Albinski?
architecture review committee meeting July 31st. We had 4 items on the agenda. One was a return, 55 Woodhill. We still had some comments on that one. We asked them to return. For a number of reasons on the portico and some of the detail. 3 Wood Valley, 1-story addition, front porch siding, that was approved with a couple minor comments. 116 Country Club Drive, addition and alterations. We had some comments there. We asked them to complete like a front porch, to really complete the house on that one. So that was approved with those 2 conditions. And then I think the address is wrong on the last one. I think it's 335 Stonytown Road. Ed Stone Bay, we had a couple comments on some of the details of that, materials, and that was approved with those conditions.
Is there anyone from the public here with any comments on any of these properties? Do any of my trustees have any questions? So I will make a motion to approve the findings of the Architectural Review Committee from their July 31st, 2023 meeting. Do I have a second?
Trustee Franklin, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albanese. And thank you for your drawings of the roads that were rejected. I appreciate the nice work that you did.
I can make it clear.
You did make it very clear. It was a very nice drawing, so I appreciate it. Have a good night. All right, Rich, you got a lot to talk about.
Just road work.
That's a lot to talk about. Come on.
It's complete, everything is done. Wednesday, me and Bryce are gonna walk the streets, make sure there's anything on the punches we need to add. I hope, Claire, you're happy with the.
Very, thank you.
Well, it's not Claire. How did you do? I saw the picture. Did she have a good?
The
Was she
kids are
happy?
very happy.
They're all sliding down the block on
Oh,
the
yeah.
scooters.
It's a lot
Okay,
of
good.
fun.
As long as your daughter is happy.
Even the action of the paving was fun, so the whole experience.
Well, except for the bad flooding we had. That was very unexpected and terrible, but luckily this company is a lot better than previous companies. They remediated all the damages. They even fixed the sprinklers like next day, which is
That
unheard
we
of.
asked.
That was great.
Very
Right.
Usually you get a good amount of calls and complaints. Like, the only calls we got were just parking issues, but.
Right.
That's, that's pretty much it.
And listen, not to say everything was perfect. We did have some issues when they were doing the paving on Ridge Drive.
Oh,
And I've already spoken to Steve about it. They did not provide the required flag people. People were driving down Ridge and hitting a giant parked dump truck with nowhere to go. And people had a U-turn at Sycamore. It was a mess. I was doing traffic control. I just happened to be going to see how the work was going, and it was just terrible. People live in Fernwood, didn't know how to get back to their homes because we had to let the road cure. And of course, somebody snuck through the barrier, parked on the street, and then I said, "You got to move it." And I said, "Please don't cut your wheel." They cut the wheel and they left a little divot already. So.
That'll have to go on the punch list.
Right. But if they had good flag people, that person wouldn't have snuck around one of the barriers on the side roads and kind of dented the road a little bit. We also the county finished the work on Middle Neck by the Greenway Gate where they fixed the drainage work, and they painted it pretty quickly, so thank you, county. And they fixed the collapsed manhole cover.
I just want to say that I thought it was lower today. I don't know,
Yeah.
punch it up.
We're watching it right now.
Yeah, I think it may have settled a little, but I drive over it like every day and judge by the sounds. I actually judge by how high up in the air I got.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're monitoring the repair they did to the sunken manhole cover, the ring. They did a pretty good job, but
Where's that?
the ring on Middle Neck Road, closer to Joanne's, that was the repair they did. That was our repair. That wasn't the county repair, that was our repair, that was part of this year's budget.
Yeah, it's
Because
much,
if you
much
remember,
better.
it's, if you try to drove over, it's sunken, that
Yeah,
was cracked.
yeah.
So the concern that we have is because it's a heavily trafficked road with trucks, even though trucks are banned and the police do the best they can to keep the trucks off. The concern is that ring wasn't exactly installed perfect. We have a 2-year warranty, but I want to make sure any work that's done is perfect, because again, if it's a regular street by you and me, that's okay. But this one needs to be perfect because we don't want it to sink again, which is why we need to do the repair to begin with.
How the police enforce this trucks every single
I
day.
know that, Officer Nick.
Target, 18-wheeler Target truck coming
I
down.
know, Nick has been on top of it, I'm not sure that any of the other officers are.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah, he
sits in the neighborhood. and he looks out.
so it's difficult when you have 2-sector cars.
Oh, Nick's listening.
DeFilippi.
Oh, he's the lead.
So it's difficult when we want our streets to be patrolled for crime, to have them sit there and do truck patrols. So
No, I know.
to me, I know that's the problem. We
He's
have,
given a bunch.
he has, and every time we talk to Nick, I'm like, hey, can you hopefully do this again? But there's only so much that the police can do. So that's that. Rich, you're gonna be paving you're gonna be putting down the stop sign.
Hopefully,
Lines?
We're starting next week, all the lines.
Right.
We have about 260 lines we gotta do.
But also the ones on the paving that we did, we have to wait, 2 weeks after it's
So
paved?
that's why next week we should be clear.
That's why you don't have the stop lines yet on your
You
street,
gotta wait 2
because
weeks.
you have
If
to
I was
wait.
paint it, the asphalt will absorb it. It'll
Yeah.
run out.
Yeah, so that's why I don't want you to think we haven't finished
It
the job.
bleeds.
We need
It
to.
bleeds. You don't get a crisp line
I
also.
think road
Yeah.
work.
Yes. All right, so thank you for that, Rich. Anything else with the roads, parks? No? We're good. Perfect. Thank you.
I just want to thank our summer intern, Mitchell Schwartz, who has been just such an invaluable help to the village and to our standing project. And as of today, almost all of our building files are in the Laserfish app, and then will be integrated into Municity. So we're a lot closer to our goal. Heather's been part of the project. It's just been like, this is my dream, is finally being realized. So thank you all.
Yes, thank you, Mitchell, for volunteering your time to come in and scan all those documents.
When
And
are you done being an intern?
Probably in a few weeks. Try not to.
We might drag him back in every so often. He's going locally to college. So
Yeah.
when he doesn't have class,
Wait,
we'll
where you
pull him back
going?
in.
You going, where
He
you
goes to Hofstra.
Oh, right, Hofstra.
Yeah, so he's local.
Yeah.
We'll borrow him.
Cool work while you're going to school.
Ronnie,
Builds character.
anything else on the administrator's report?
Yeah, that's it. It's a quiet month.
Exactly. Jeff, attorney's report? No zoning?
They did.
No zoning.
Good. We're gonna get out of here really soon. Mayor's report. My couple of quick things is, I'm gonna send down to the mayor's newsletter about the overnight lane closures on Northern Boulevard. They're starting to do the work. It seems like they're coming to us last, but that doesn't mean anything
They
because.
finally did great neck, and it's like,
It's nice.
oh my God, it's a pleasure.
So I'll send out the information on where people can go to get the data on when it's happening for us. If we do find out the dates, which we've asked us.
Well, they started at Glen Cove Road, and they started at City Line, and I think they're gonna meet.
No,
Told me they're starting at the city one moving east.
correct.
Well, they already did from Glen Cove
That's a
Road.
different
And then
project.
will be a drainage work.
The little
It's a different
paving.
job.
It's a whole separate thing.
Yeah, it's
so
separate.
bad coming out of the country.
So I want the dates so I can let our residents know, and we've asked them and they don't have a schedule. If anybody is getting, once again, if anyone's getting solicitors to the door, if they're not registered with the village, call the police and hopefully the police will escort them away. If not, if you want to sign up for our do not solicit list, please contact our village administrator and get one of our lovely stickers. And we're putting, Rich, is the radar, did we get the battery for the radar street sign? It's not here yet? All right, well, as soon as we get the battery for the radar street sign, we're putting it on Stony Town because the unit we have, the battery failed. Which is nothing new because batteries get old and die. That's my mayor's report. That's pretty easy. Any trustees with reports?
I do have one thing, and I don't know, I attended a function with Take the Night Back, in Port Washington.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if anybody got to go to
How
that.
was that?
Yeah, it was really good. But one of the things that was interesting that you learn is they have this thing, and it's right now it's Port Washington, but I don't know if it could be incorporated here. And it's called Project Lifesaver, and it is you sign up for it. And if you have somebody in your home that's autistic, or if you have somebody that has dementia, Alzheimer's, and you're worried about them, they have this. I don't exactly understand. I don't know if it's like a bracelet they wear. I'm not 100% sure. But they've instituted it. So I brought the information, so I'll give it to you, Randall.
Yeah, please.
Because it might be something that we could talk to them about. If any of our residents might be, they have somebody in their home that is interested.
No, definitely. I never heard of that. I think it's great.
Secondly, I know we had the detective come in and speak to us
He was
about
that was
crime.
that was the inspector.
Oh, that was the inspector.
He runs the 6th precinct. Yes.
Oh, so this is actually put out by Bruce Blakeman's office, and Patrick Ryder's the commissioner of police, and it's a do and don'ts. It might be something that you could incorporate into the. I thought it was.
I might
it's
have-
a little
you know
more comprehensive.
I
than what we
might have
talked
already
about.
posted that on our Facebook.
Yeah, if
I'm
not,
not
It
sure.
looks- It does look familiar.
I get these
Yeah,
things,
yeah, I
and I
figured
cycle
you'd
them in
do
and
that.
out, and sometimes Ronnie puts them on our webpage, but yeah, I don't know if I have.
Yeah.
It looks familiar, but maybe it's updated.
And the only other thing
Because I get them from the commissioner's
was,
office as well.
to advertise Project Independence for elderly people.
Yeah, that's
which is
great.
With
Precedent there. Yep.
free transportation and
Yep.
and then reduce for if they want to go shopping. So just for our
Project
residents.
Independence is a long-standing
Yep.
thing
So just
from the town
remind
of
people, I
Hempstead.
think people tend to forget that all of a sudden now their parents are older and they
Yeah,
haven't
So
been paying attention.
elderly now is considered
60 or above.
I
Well,
know.
Frank, you get a free ride to the supermarket. You don't have to ride your
I have
bike.
Medicare
Twice a
now. I have Medicare next year. I'm looking forward to it. Get everything for free.
Here, Randall, you can take that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Any old business we have?
Yeah, one thing is that we have never decided on what we're doing about the planning study.
No, we decided that I've dropped the ball and I haven't done the review of the material that Gary's given me.
Okay, then we will adjourn to.
So that's on me, and I told Gary before the meeting that it's on me, so I did apologize to him before we met. I will apologize publicly.
Now
I'm
publicly,
sorry,
good.
Gary, that I did not
Look
do
in the,
what I
look in
needed
the
to
camera,
do.
please.
Hello, public. I apologize to Gary Lewandowski that did not review the materials he sent me about the planning study. Thank you.
Okay, new business. The first thing I just wanted to talk about is that we did put out an RFP for appraisal services for the potential sale of the end of Birch Lane that is just north of Elder Fields. As the people who live on either side were interested in purchasing it as a family. I did not get any responses other than one appraiser who said, you really can't.
Let's talk to Jeff about that.
Okay, so we're gonna hold that on the side and revisit it.
Yes. So we're looking, we have a small dead-end road that the owners of the houses approached the village years ago about purchasing the road from us. And in essence, we can't just sell it to someone. We would have to put it to public, I guess, offer to sell it.
Yeah.
But we're reaching out with an RFP to get a appraisal on the road, so we know what it's worth if we want to sell it or not. The advantage of selling that little road is it's one less thing we have to pave, sweep, and plow. And quite honestly, the cost of paving roads, I never want to burden the future board or the village on this little small road. And we have someone who years ago was interested in purchasing it, and the board at the time just didn't really, I think when I was first on the board, but 12 years ago.
Mayor McNamara.
No, and it wasn't an issue, but now they came back and they're interested again. So you know what? We'll see how much money we'll get in and how much money we would save. So we're going through the process of trying to get a valuation on the road. But we'll take it from there.
Okay, then the next thing on the agenda is, we're introducing local law K, amending our noise chapter, because our noise chapter is very hard to enforce.
So right now,
What's the change? 'Cause I'm
So what
pretty
we're-
familiar with
so
the,
I'm
pretty
looking at it
familiar
right
with
now, it's a major change. The old noise statute has specific decibel levels.
yes,
It's written from a different perspective. Instead of when you can't do things, you can do things. It's a significant change. It creates a standard of unreasonableness, which is not nearly as objective as a decibel level standard, which is what currently exists. And I was just reading what is constituted to be unreasonable and not reasonable.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting.
well, the problem with our code as it is right now, AJ, is you have to be a sound engineer in order to enforce the code. We do have a dB meter, but I challenge anyone here on the board to use that dB meter properly the way the code
Because you have to
states.
also know what the megahertz is.
There's lots of, and
To
not,
comply with the code.
and no police officers have a decibel meter. We have one, and when the said noise might happen, our code enforcer isn't going to be able to come here from home, get the dB meter, go out there and make a reading. And also the readings,
or you could use your phone, iPhone, you have apps,
Yeah.
they're pretty accurate.
I don't know how accurate that would be for court.
Oh, yeah.
So remember, they're going to write a ticket, and then if someone comes to court to fight it, we need to be able to defend it. And our current code is it's very difficult for anybody to write a ticket. And again, really the goal is not to write tickets. The goal is just to let people have peace and quiet.
I think a lot of it is, so I had an issue with a neighbor.
Yes.
I had a conversation with him. I referred to the code. He had no idea that we had a note. And since then, it's been fine. He's been keeping low because he was very apologetic. He said, I had no idea that, I couldn't play it at, the same level as they do at like a club.
Yes,
my house was like,
and your house was shaking.
because the other problem is people, when they're renovating backyards now, they're doing, these outdoor kitchens, they're doing a lot of they're putting in sound systems.
Yes, they are.
He put in one with speakers all around the property and a subwoofer.
Yes.
So my house literally vibrates when he played, but he's turned off the subwoofer now because they didn't know. So I think as long as people know that But, you know, it's very hard to make any noise in your yard that you can't hear in the adjacent yard. I mean, we don't, unless you live, you know, this is not Brookville where you're on 5, 6, 7 acre lots.
Right.
You know, you're on quarter, half acre lots. I mean, you know, if you play music on your phone, the person next to you could technically hear it. So, you know, it's
right now,
it's
the code,
tricky
it
to
is.
enforce.
But
still.
right now, the code is close to unenforceable.
I get this question all the time also. People call me, I want to have a party, what time do I have to shut my music off? And I go,
Well, it used to be 10.
it's not in the code.
Not in our code.
I thought it was.
It's decibel level.
Yeah.
After 6 PM, you know, this is the acceptable decibel level, and it tells you like what kind of things.
But now we're up to 11 o'clock on Fridays and Saturdays, right?
But I need an answer. I'm always like, well, use your best judgment, you know?
11 o'clock's
It's
late.
10 o'clock, turn to 10.
You know, if you have children, you know, 11 o'clock on a Friday night, Saturday's late.
So I'm
So maybe we
willing
should change
to
it.
accept that as a question, and then we can decide, if we have decided to move forward and have a public hearing, we can discuss that. We're trying to be flexible, that lets people who want to enjoy their yards and have parties, and we want also people who want to be able to enjoy the silence. There's a careful balance, but
No, yeah.
right now it's very, and we've got a few noise complaints, and I've got a couple people coming to me about it, and I'm like, the code doesn't help you. There's nothing anybody can do to stop. And we do have some people who will constantly play music all day long.
Right.
They'll even leave for the day, just leave the music on with the subs, and they have these really nice pools with the speakers. And it's very intrusive for the neighbors because they're stuck with this noise all day and all night. So we're just trying to keep the peace. I mean, this is just reaction to enough people approaching the village on getting relief from loud parties.
Right.
And this is just to help them with that. Otherwise, I was fine with our noise standards, but it doesn't work well.
Yeah, and I think also just having a dialogue with the neighbor that, you know, is doing it.
And that's what it does. It lets the police have a little dialogue, has our code enforcer. It just, our current code doesn't let us do anything. It's written for a scientist.
Yeah,
So,
I just wanted to give some people an answer. Yeah, shut the music at 10 o'clock.
so I'll make a motion to hold our first public hearing at the September 12th Board of Trustees meeting. If someone wants to second.
I will second.
Okay, trustee Lewandowski. All in favor?
Right.
All right, and this is because, listen, we might not go forward with it, but at least let's have the conversation.
No, this
Start
is
playing
Yeah,
with
so
this.
I mean,
This
we
is
have
definitely better than the other.
What we have now is
three public hearings.
we're having problems with parties. And it's nice to hear that people are having good times. But
This doesn't yet say anything about yelling. The other one says yelling.
yes, the other one has yelling.
So now I can yell. in my
So
backyard?
next issue, I believe the,
Okay, approve of a front yard.
how do I say your last name properly?
Parziality.
The Parziali family. You want to, so we can hear you, want to come up and, it's not a public hearing, so you can just hang out to the left. At least we can hear you better.
Yeah. Paolo Parziale is my wife, Joanne, lifelong Fort Washington resident, lived in Flowerville for about 11 years now. First time here, so nice meeting all of you. Seems like you're moving pretty quickly, so hopefully we can keep it moving. So the request is, we filed a permit.
You are the last thing on the agenda, so
Okay.
don't.
Yeah, the rest of the night to you.
So
All
between,
night.
you guys get an act, yeah, okay. So we had put in a permit for a fence in our front yard. And then the fence would be along the property line, so basically from the front of our house. On 7 Maple, I live in the cul-de-sac, from the middle house in the cul-de-sac, on Maple, if you're familiar with the street. So the request is to put a decorative fence according to the guidelines, which is less than 4 feet, 48 inches. And that you can see through it, so like opaque, it's not like a vinyl fence, it's kind of like a wrought iron fence that you use. So the request is to basically put a fence from the corner of my house to the front of the property line, which is the property line of the state. And we'd like to have the fence line, fence continue down that fence line. We actually have a fence that reaches the front of my house, the corner property that we put in 2021, October 2021. With the permit, we had it installed, and we stopped at the front of the house. But now we feel like we have a need to extend that to the front the property, like I said, about 10 feet from the road.
Okay. Why?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Because
Yeah.
our code doesn't allow that type of
Yeah,
fence. But so
absolutely
why?
Because I live on Cherrywood, I walked by your house yesterday.
Yeah.
And there's planting along there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, no,
Tell us the,
that's-
tell,
you're
yeah,
absolutely right. You're
can we,
absolutely
what,
right.
we need the why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
easy, safety, safety's the reason, okay? After being there 11 years, and someone like, I like to consider myself as someone patient and understanding, it's just, we've gotten to the point where it's a safety concern for me and my family. We've had countless incursions of service providers, my neighbor's service providers, either my neighbor himself or his service providers, using my driveway and the grass, if you go into the house, the grass on the right side of the driveway is kind of about 3 feet of grass, and because I have a regular lot, it's about 3 feet at the bottom, and it kind of goes to like 5 feet or 10 feet at the top. As sort of like an easeway or a passageway, so people come in to, come up my driveway or come up the grass, and then enter his side yard from my property. So they travel along the property line, because he's got, like Mr. King said, has trees there along his property line. So they then come onto my property,
Well,
walk up the property.
just for the record, they're like arborvitae's, they're big shrubs, right?
They're big.
Yeah.
they're-
Yeah, so they're not
they're-
trees. It's like a big, beautiful natural barrier.
It's a big, yes, they're big trees, yeah.
Right.
Everybody's the green giants. And then they enter his property. So this was worse. We found people in our backyard from occasion, my wife looking out the window, someone in the backyard. So that's why we put a fence 2 years ago, we put a gate on my backyard. But we had to stop it at the end of the property, the end of the front of my house, because of that. But unfortunately, that wasn't enough, because we've still had people, service providers, you name them, tree people, landscaping people, sprinkler people, AC, generator people. The list goes on with service providers. Coming up my driveway, and now they stop at the fence that I installed and enter in right there. So this has gotten to the point where now there needs to be a physical barrier there for safety. Because of the angle of the house, the way we use our garage every day, right? We go coming in and out of there, the kids are going in and out with bikes, whatever. When you open the door, the property line is 10 feet from the property line. The garage door is 10 feet from the property line. There have been occasions where you open the door and there's a stranger standing there in front of the garage. It is terrifying to open the garage and be startled by someone standing in front of the garage. I can't live like that. My family can't live like that. And I can't have my kids opening the garage and having a stranger stand right there. There's gotta be a physical barrier. They tried it with trees. They tried it. And I thought maybe that would have been it. But no, it's not it. Okay? And that's why I'm here. I wish I never had to come here.
Have you spoken to your neighbor about this?
We have spoken to it multiple occasions. Okay? My neighbor takes communication as authorization, and that's not the case. Just because he thinks he can communicate that he's doing some sort of work on his property and that his service providers will need access, he believes that is authorization to access my property. And that is not authorization to access my property. That is trespassing. The latest incident was 3 or 4 weeks ago when he disputed the survey that I had done and got his own survey done and was trying to have the survey people force their way onto my property. Ronnie came down to my house. It was a large incident, and it was probably the 3rd or 4th time the police were called to my house because of incidences with my neighbor. Always because I'm being encroached. My property is being encroached. Never once do I have anything on his property. I'm constantly being encroached. So I need a physical barrier here.
And is this an accurate drawing?
Yeah, so that's my survey, right? Yeah, that's
Because what it looks like you're asking for is putting a fence that currently, as I read the survey, is not even on your property, continuing it on your neighbor's property to the street. So
I'm sorry.
No, that Gary, that's incorrect.
is this not a property line? Am I
The
reading this
the
wrong?
dark line's the property.
The dark, right,
The dark is the property.
the dark is the property.
That's his
Oh,
existing fence. He's looking to extend the fence.
I
On
his
his
side of the
property.
property. My apologies, I
Yeah,
flipped
that's-
flags.
I drove by the
That's
house
big.
multiple times and I drove by today.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where's the neighbor?
And that's why the
Affirmative.
existing fence there ends with the garage.
So very quick question. I'm very sympathetic to your issue. It's terrible. I wouldn't want strangers in my driveway, on my property, it's not cool. But so this isn't a decorative fence,
Yeah,
it's a property line fence, correct?
it is a decorative fence that will be installed along the property.
So it's a property line fence. This board cannot grant that. It's in the code.
Right about this.
Because you're saying it's a property line fence. It's not a decorative fence, meaning people who put a stockade fence up in the front of the house just for the look.
Right, which I've seen lots.
Yeah, lots of them on Country Club Lane, there's a whole bunch of them.
Along property lines,
Yes.
in front of the lot, yeah.
But a lot of them are not on the property line. A lot of those are in
Along the
front.
property line as well.
So this board can't approve a property line fence.
Okay.
We can't. You have to go for a variance.
Okay.
We can approve a decorative fence in the front of the house if it was for decorative purposes, but the
So like
code,
along a street, you mean like along.
Yeah, you know,
Correct.
like a split rail.
A
or
split
something,
rail,
like a little
usually it's a
flower
split
garden with a
rail
little fence
fence,
around
yeah.
it.
but we can't, the code explicitly does not allow this board to approve a property line, and you're saying it's a property line fence, so you have to, and Jeff will agree, you have to apply for variance. We can't grant that. We're very sympathetic, and I'm sure we'd all say, yes, it makes sense, but the code doesn't allow us to
Can I
do
just
that.
read what the code says?
Certainly.
That we're all- What it says in line 18-1 fence requirements is no fence shall be erected in the front yard of any property within the village. That's the first sentence. Then notwithstanding anything herein contained to the contrary, decorative non-property line fences that do not exceed 4 feet in height nor 40% opacity may be permitted, however, in corresponding finding of the board of trustees and presumption there. But this is a property line fence, so
Okay, so I understand, so I understand, so like a variance would be needed. Before we move on, or I ask about the variance, what would consider it to be not a property line fence? Like, is there a distance that needs to be from the property line, if it happens to be along the same angle as the property line, like what is the kind of definition here of what defines a property line fence?
you're gonna move it off the property. I mean,
That's great, so if I move it like 3 inches, 10 feet, like what are we
I
talking?
think 3 inches, we're talking a survey, de minimis change, the argument can be, well, how close is your property line? That, I think you would redraw the fence and resubmit, and then the board would decide if this board can approve it or not.
I actually would probably defer to the
Yeah,
building
it's-
superintendent, and
Okay.
him and I had this
Yeah,
conversation.
I just think
So-
it's because the intent
What's the
is
definition of
to
lot line?
create a property line barrier.
Okay,
That's why I think if you go through the variance, I think you've got a great case.
Mhm.
Because of, the problems that you're having.
right,
But I just feel that if you come back here, you're not gonna get what you want.
okay, so you think that the route to take would be the
And then you
variance?
could continue the exact same fence, I don't think you would return these panels, that'd be
Right.
lovely, but you can continue your wooden fence,
Mhm.
which would be even, because these, I have like one of these kind of.
Ronnie, there's no
They're
way,
not that solid,
the zoning board would never approve a solid fence,
well, you
No.
do the state fence,
right? You just said wooden fence, so that's not,
well,
that wouldn't
Well,
happen.
unless
You don't
the
know.
house next door is on an angle and they consider that.
But it
to
would
the
be, it
front
would
of the-
probably be an estate type fence. The zoning board has approved estate type fences in front yards.
I don't know what the state.
two
Um,
metal fences.
what you're
What you're proposing.
but
Oh, okay.
it's the expensive, nice metal,
Okay, got it.
beautiful fences. So that's a definition. I would recommend, again, if you're talking about moving it back, there's nothing really in the code, but I'm gonna say 5 or 6 feet from the property line,
Mhm.
because again, you want a property line fence, and our code specifically excludes, it only allows decorative. So you, by your own testimony, you're saying this is a non-decorative fence. You're trying to define a property line or to keep people off property. So we can't approve it. We would be going against our own code. So that's why we have a zoning board, and getting a variance is the best way to make this happen.
Understood. I never applied for a variance or that, but what would be the steps
I'll
to
walk you through it.
you walking through? Okay,
It's not a big thing. It's just a little costly,
that's fine, I'm happy to,
few fees.
yeah, that's fine.
And I can't guarantee that the zoning board would approve it, but that the
So
only,
is that a different board that like?
it's an
Okay.
independent board separate from the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
We don't approve their decisions, they don't approve our decisions. You make your own case to them, and they will approve or deny something.
Okay.
Was there a question? from
Yeah,
Mr.
I've like one or two, I'm looking at your house on Google Earth.
Yep.
So I'm seeing this tree line, that's basically your property line. And what you're trying to do is extend what looks to be a white fence here, essentially along the line of the trees.
From the white fence, yeah.
Continuing.
Along those streets, yeah, along those streets.
Okay. Because I'm just curious that, like, if you angled the fence to coincide with your sidewalk over there, I don't know if that's really a property
Yeah,
line fence anymore.
it's a little, because, the property does come on an angle, so you can
Right.
start with the sidewalk, not with the white fence. That's what you're saying,
Who planted the arborvitae?
The neighbor.
the neighbor.
And how,
At your request?
but I'm just curious.
I'm happy that they're there, and I thought it would have stopped the issue.
It's a nice fence.
But it
It's a nice
hasn't-
natural
it
fence.
hasn't
So he did make an attempt to solve that problem.
I'm not sure he made an attempt to solve the problem, because if he did, he wouldn't have a service fees to continue coming over.
I
Just as a side note, the neighbor is.
I don't, let's not even get there. Let's not besmirch anybody.
Yeah, we don't deal with neighbors.
I don't think we have purview of this case. I mean, we all feel bad and it's a terrible situation, but we can't do anything about it. We have to have, the zoning board is the only one who can.
No, I understand, I'm happy, listen,
Yeah.
I'm happy to follow whatever the process is, just like I'll permit the other fence.
Right.
But I'm happy to do all that.
Yeah, no,
So if that's the
believe me,
process,
we're sympathetic, but
Yeah, let's
the
follow-
code
let's
is
follow.
very clear what we can and can't do. In this
Yes,
case,
yes.
we can't.
I
do
wish it was a
it.
little bit clearer, just in terms of where the fence should be, I happy to call it a property line fence. if
But,
I call it-
but in
if I
essence,
call
what
it-
you're trying to do is define your
Of course,
property
because I'm
line.
being honest with you.
Yeah,
What
but
I'm
it's
trying
a
to do,
property
and
line
everyone's in a
fence.
similar situation, we're trying to do the same thing, so I'm not coming here to try and hide
Yep.
whatever the issue is.
No, we
I'm trying-
appreciate it.
I'm actually trying to solve an issue.
Yep. And we did help you with the visibility issues because I know you had problems with the
Yeah.
last two shrubs with visibility pulling out of your driveway, and
Yes,
we were able to quickly get your neighbor to remove those two giant
Yes.
shrubs. So,
yes, which
we're-
weren't proposed, which
we're-
weren't proposed, but yes.
right, but we're here to help you with
No,
those
I
things. So,
appreciate that, and that's,
we-
and like I said, I'd like to follow whatever the guidelines are,
Right.
so if that's the next step in the process, then that's what we'll.
yeah, that's the only way. We can't. We want to, but we can't.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I
Sorry.
suggest you, if you go in front of the zoning board,
Yeah, happy to take advice.
take out some type of diary or something like that and document incursions?
Yeah.
So that when you go in front of them, you'll have not just, they do this all the time kind of stuff, it's like actually maybe take some pictures of it.
So you don't want, so
I mean-
AJ, you're saying you don't want anecdotal evidence, you want actual evidence.
I want actual evidence.
Thank you, Judge.
Video-
But I'm not on the zoning board.
I witnessed their videos.
It's voting like a lawyer, yes. I'm not on the zoning board, I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah.
But my suggestion is, instead of just saying, this is what happens, take pictures and write things down. This
We
day,
have,
this
we have
happened.
plenty of pictures, videos, facts, whatever they
And
like.
FYI, your neighbor will be noticed that there will be a hearing.
What's that?
Yes.
Your neighbor will be noticed.
That is absolutely 100% fine. I hope it is, and
All right,
happy to see
instead
that
of
further hearings.
inflaming the issue, let's end the issue.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming in. Ronnie will work with you on the necessary steps to do that.
I don't know if I have your email, I know I have it, but can you just shoot me an email in the morning?
Sure.
First,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just submit your whole package to the zoning, to the building inspector, he'll write a denial letter, we'll send you an application, we'll go from there.
Okay, should we come in to do it? Should we-
Try, no, we can do it by now.
Okay.
Yeah, like, we'll try to get you on September, I think 15th calendar.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for your
All
help.
right.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Good luck with the zoning board.
Thanks.
If anyone else has any other issues, I'll say they don't. I will make a motion to adjourn the August 7th Board of Trustees meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody wants to-
Mr. Rich, can you kill that off? Thank you. Yep, kill it. Thank you. I need somebody off the camera.